One.
Hey guys, this video is going to go over some of the mods so that hopefully when you get in game it's not super overwhelming and it can be a nice reference for you to be able to figure out how each of the different systems work and give you kind of a path to go on once you get in game. There's not going to be any rules really for the server. The one thing I ask is that you try not to grief as much as possible, just because it can kind of ruin the experience for other people. My goal is kind of just to have this as one big guild where we all try to work towards the end game, which is potentially doing boss runs. All I'm doing in game right now is crafting a looting one sword to get the last component that I needed to build one of the custom mob weapons. The server has custom classes on it. I've got a link in the description and in the Discord to all of the different classes and how to get them. You'll need to craft certain items to get certain classes, and you can kind of look to see what each class does and decide from there which item you want to craft. Some of the crafting items are harder to make though, so you may want to pick a class earlier. You can always change what your class is later on, so don't worry too much about what you're picking. Before I head out to find the last component to make the custom item, I wanted to level up my class. It costs some levels to use the waypoints that are here, depending on the distance of the waypoints, so I wanted to make sure that I had enough levels to be able to level up my class one more time and still be able to use the waypoint. In order to view the skill screen that I was just on, you'll have to change your settings. By default it's on J, but the mini-map is also on J, so you'll want to hit escape, go to options, controls, and then once you're in the control section, you scroll down until you see MK Ultra. The first one here is showing which buttons your skill abilities on. By default, it's Alt and then numbers 1 through 5. You can change this to whatever you want. Then down below it in MK Ultra General, you'll want to change this to whatever you want to as well to pull up the skill screen. I use K because it's not binded to anything yet, and it's right next to J anyways. Also, if you see any stuttering in game, it was the recording software, not my computer or the server at all, so this won't be happening for you. Something to keep in mind is that the higher level you get, the more EXP it costs to level up your class, and then on top of that, if you die, you'll go down one class level, and you'll also lose your last skill point that you put up, so you'll want to put up your skill points in the right order, and make sure that you're dying as little as possible. So the reason why we ended up going to the desert biome is because the mob that we're trying to kill, it drops a specific item, and this mob only spawns at night in the desert, so we had to come here to be able to find it. There were different items that we could have found, but this was just the first area that we could have found this component for the item, so this is where I came first. You can see the item dropped on the ground. They look a little bit jank, but it all works well, so now that we got the item, we just try to leave. Some of these monsters will take too long for us to kill, so rather than dying with the item, we're just going to leave instead. So here we check to make sure that the item is the right type, and we were looking for a pommel, so we know that's correct. And then I wasn't sure which direction it would take to get to the new location, so I checked my minimap. You can see the blue dot on the minimap, which indicates where we are, and then you can see the waypoint marker on the minimap, so we know that we need to go there. There's a beacon on that shows in the sky, so you can use that and follow that to be able to get to your waypoint. You can also add custom map location markers, so if there's something that you want to remember where it is, you can custom put that into your map. Now that we're back, we're going to start crafting the weapon. I've already got the items that I wanted to picked out, and you need to use this specific crafting bench to be able to make the custom weapons. So in here, we take each piece that we need. So you can see that this is a base piece. You have to start with a base piece to craft a custom weapon, and with this base piece, it tells you which slots get added onto it that allow you to build off of it. In this case, the base allows us to add a head and a pommel to it. They light up, indicating that you can add a spot to it. So we're going to take the head first. The head component also lets us add a pike at the end of it. You can see it lights up yellow. So now we have 4 potential pieces that we can put onto our item. And this is just showing what the weapon would do if we were to take it right now, but we can keep adding components to it, which will keep adding stats. Each time you add a new component, it actually adds the piece of the item to the weapon, so you can customize the look of your weapon depending on which pieces that you're using. And now that our item's built, that's as best as this one can get based off of the base and head that we're using. So we're going to use this and see what it can do. The new weapon gives specific stats. These stats allow us to do different things. You can see that under the harvest section, it also works as a hoe or a shears. So you can use the right click feature on this, and it will also be able to hoe the ground or be able to shear a sheep. Depending on which components you use, you can get different effects on your weapons. You can't enchant the custom weapons, and that's because if you use higher quality ingredients or a stronger crafting table, you'll be able to make items that have different components and different abilities. You can sometimes even get unique projectiles on the weapons depending on what you use. So I wanted to search how to craft a summoning wand, and in here you can type in specifically what you're looking for. I know where it is on the main page, so I just wanted to go straight to it. By clicking on it, we can see what the summoning wand takes to make. You can do this with any item in the game. So we craft our summoning wand, but we want to check to see what mobs we're able to summon. So you click the green badge and go to summoning. Any of the mobs in here get registered to your bestiary by killing them or by right-clicking them with the bestiary register. But with this, you can select each of these mobs to summon, and they'll summon as allies, and they'll attack mobs for you. Certain ones of these summons have specific abilities. For example, the Frostweaver can slow people, and the Reaper can give them blindness. So you just hold down right-click, and it'll summon it. So this adds another level of the game where you can have summons and be using your class skills at the same time. We're back at the desert, just showing off the new damage of our weapon and what some of the summons can do when they're attacking. You can see that the Reaper summons are shooting shadow balls at the enemies, dealing damage to them. I wanted to show off what some of the other creatures do, so I started summoning some of these Frostweavers as well. The Frostweavers give a projectile that slows enemies, so you can really strategize with what mobs you're summoning to be able to fight the correct fight. You can also show how far you're summoning away a mob. The green indicator shows if you wanted to summon it at a distance, so if you wanted to aggro a mob that's far away, you can summon one of your monsters there to fight it. The images on the left-hand side of the screen are what your current skills are that you have equipped. You can change which hotkeys these skills are on in the controls panel. These skills also show what the cooldown is of each ability, so you can use that to track when your ability can be up. The blue bar at the bottom shows how much mana you have, and you can use this to track how much resource you have because each skill takes different mana cost. There's still a lot of things that these mods add that I haven't covered, but to be honest, I don't even know what all of them do, so it's kind of one of those things where I'm looking forward to exploring it with other people, and if you decide to join, hopefully I'll see you in game, and we can have a good time trying to kill some of these bosses.